FM station in the world, 98.3 FM, The Life Improv Leadership with your host, Ted Schneider. Well, we always start the show out with a shout out to our local loyal listeners. Of course, we have Alec, my older son. We have Zach, my younger son. We've got Brianna, who I spoke to today. A rare conversation on the phone. Thank you, Brianna. We got the Burbank group. We've got Kathleen, Randy, Jim, Debbie, and John. Let's see, we've got my stepbrothers from RHS, Tony and Bob. We've got Sam right down the street, of course, a true local loyal listener. And last but not least, we have Denise, my girlfriend. So thank you, everyone, for listening. We appreciate your listenership, your feedback, and everything that goes with being a local loyal listener. Well, again, improv leadership, we're going to do something that is dear to my heart. There's two books I just finished reading on the way to Florida and back. The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. Also read The New Retirementality, Age, Balance in Retirement, and Living a Rich Retirement by Mitch Anthony. Now, I'm not going to probably get to both of them. But I'm going to start with The Fourth Quarter of Your Life because that was a neat concept. You know, the fourth quarter of your life. I told my girlfriend when I first picked it up, I said, nah, it's only halftime. And that's one of the things they talk about in the book. You know, people talking about, oh, I got plenty of time. Okay, if you're 60 plus, you're beyond halftime, unless you're going to live to be 120. And then you have to think about quality of life, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a very good book because I wrestle with the whole concept of retirement. I enjoy what I do. I like making money. I get to work from home. I just have to go in the office once a month. And so retirement is almost like I don't know, it kind of like, oh, and to be honest, I had a conversation with my boss's boss several times, and he wants me to go another 5 years, which means I would go to my early 70s, which I don't think I'm going to do. But Barry, in case you're listening, I haven't decided yet. Anyway, Fourth Quarter of Your Life, Matthew Kelly. It's a good book. It helps people navigate the later stages of life, meaning the fourth quarter of your life, with purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. You know, think about it. A lot of people go, well, I'm 65, and it's not over. Both books stress at this age of life, really, you can reinvent yourself. A lot of people retire too early based on, things, and really you have to have a purpose. You know, a couple of books I read, there's two different things you wrestle with. One is, well, I've got the magic number, $8 million or whatever. I'm almost there, by the way, whatever the number is. But people focus on the financial part. And both these books try to tell you, look, what are you going to do with your life? You've got the fourth quarter. If you're in your 60s, let's say you have 20 more good years before maybe you're not doing so hot, or you're not as mobile, or you can't dance or play pickleball or whatever. What are you going to do besides the money? So you have to have a purpose. And this book really tries to tell you, look, you can have the most impactful and rewarding stage of your life, but you have to be, focused on it. You have to have some purpose, and he challenges, again, the author of The Fourth Quarter of Your Life, challenges the common notion that old age is a time of decline and instead presents it as a period of immense potential for wisdom, influence, and legacy building. Now think about that. It's not decline. Oh, I'm getting old. Oh, my knee hurts. No, it's a period of immense potential for wisdom. Got it. Influence. Not too sure. Legacy building. Well, you got to work on that. So here's some of the key points. And again, it's about a 220-page book. I really enjoyed it. And he introduces the concept of the fourth quarter, like the last 25% of your life. So if you think first 20, 0 to 20, and then 20 to 40, 40 to 60, say 60 to 80, roughly, based on, what life expectancy is in this country. And he challenges a lot of the stereotypes about aging and retirement. They talk about the whole 65 thing, collect Social Security. When that first started, people didn't even live to 65 in terms of what our life expectancy was. So a lot of things they challenge is, look, some of the things that have been put into place are old-fashioned. And how many people, I know two people that, well, let's say one lady just retired. She was 72. Another lady's still working where I work, and she's in her early 70s. And she's like, I'm not sure, Ted. My husband retired a couple of years ago, but I enjoy working. And she lives close to work as well, so she goes in the office more. Point is, challenges the ideas that people have, thought of over the years. 65 is like magic. Bing, I got to retire, move to Florida, and do nothing. No. You don't have to do that. So you do what you want, of course, but The fourth quarter is a time of opportunity rather than decline. So think about that. Think about it's an opportunity. You have the last quarter of your life. It's like a game, right? It's like a football game. And the analogy I think of, it's a football game. So think about what you have left to do if you want to quote unquote win the game or, live life to your fullest. Again, purpose and meaning in later years. So many people focus on, well, I got to have this much money. I have to have this set up and pay this off and great. If you look at just the financial and not what's your purpose, what meaning to your life in this fourth quarter is. So again, fourth quarter of your life, Matthew Kelly. And it's all perspective as well. The other book, I'll zip around here. The other book about the new retirement mentality says, really, William Chaplin, a professor of psychology at Michigan State University, conducted a study surveying over 500,000 Americans and found that as people got older, they nevertheless continue to feel younger than their chronological age. And most people I know tell you that. Like I'm 66. I'd have no idea. I tell people I'm 66 and they don't believe it because I don't act like I'm 66. Of course, I don't think I look like I'm 66, but who knows? The point is, it's your perspective. Your attitude towards your age is the most important factor influencing your longevity. Now think about that again. Your attitude towards your age is the most important factor influencing your longevity. Let that sink in because it's true. If you look at age and it's like, oh gosh, oh geez. Or I just wrote an article, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, aging versus getting old. The body will age. Yes. Cells aren't dividing like they used to. People lose their hair, wrinkles, gray hair. You might not be as fast as you were. You can't run the, 40-yard dash anymore in 8 seconds or whatever your time was in high school or college. That's aging. But getting old is in the brain. So keep that in mind that when people have a focus on, I'm getting old. Well, I'll tell you what, nobody I know my age, thinks they're as old as they are. And it's almost incredible to think I'm on a planning committee and we're looking at our 50th high school reunion next year. It's like, how can it be 50 years since high school? Anyway, back to the book, Fourth Quarter of Your Life, Matthew Kelly. This is Improv Leadership, Ted Schneider, 98.3 FM The Life, coming live from our studio on Hawthron in Round Lake Beach. So some of the key points again, think about what you have and when you get to be the fourth quarter of your life, let's say 60 to 80, greater emotional stability, hopefully, opportunity for legacy building. Yeah, this is a time where you want to, if you haven't made your mark on the world yet, you still have some time. Deepen relationships. Yeah, relationships with your friends, your family, even people I play pickleball with. I have a pretty good relationship with them in terms of just conversations. A friend of mine I invited yesterday, his wife is going through cancer, chemo right now. Invited him out to play pickleball. He was out there a couple hours with me. I think it really did him some good. And I think it was fun seeing him as well. The point is, at this fourth quarter of your life, you have an opportunity to do things you didn't before. All right. You've got wisdom. You probably are hopefully in a financial situation where, not that you're going to buy a Tesla every day, but you've got the resources, hopefully, to do what you want. And again, hopefully greater emotional stability. If you haven't learned who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses by, say, 60 or 65, you're probably never going to have it. But also continuous learning and adaptation. Think about the change in our world. If you don't keep up with change, and that's one thing I like working, because it does give me an opportunity to really witness change, technology. I get to get all the smart people on a phone call and try to resolve incidents. And for the most part, I can come up with some good ideas in terms of, I've been doing this for 10 years, but I've been doing it for 10 years and I've paid attention. I don't pay attention to my driving in terms of directions, as some people will tell you, because that's not important. Okay. Meaning, if I'm not familiar with the area, I've been there 16 times. Well, okay. And it's at night, I'm not going to know it. But anyway, I digress. Point I'm making is wisdom at this age, opportunity to really change what you want in your life. So we're talking about the fourth quarter of your life by Matthew Kelly. He talks about strategies for developing new skills. It's never too late to learn something new. Never. Explore new interests, whatever it may be. It can be a sport. It can be a musical instrument. It can be a language. It can be taking up connections and Wordle that you never did before. I heard two ladies talking about that the other day, and I know my girlfriend has both those as well. I know people doing puzzles. Okay, whatever floats your boat, but you have to stay mentally and physically active. That's it. Just because you're 65 doesn't mean, I'm going to sit on the couch and watch TV. No, not if you don't have to. He also talks about embracing change as personal growth. As you get older, you want to challenge your brain. You want to, create new connections in your brain. You do that by pushing the envelope in terms of things you don't do and haven't done in the past. He also talks about the concept of, it's ikigai, which is the Japanese idea of finding one's reason for being. Now, you have to have a conversation with yourself and say, okay, why am I here? And if you haven't done that by the time you're 60 or 65, let's say in that range, the beginning of your fourth quarter, it's time to have that conversation. What is my purpose? What is my meaning? Why am I here? Beyond I'm so-and-so's husband or wife or mother or father or the role I have at work. No, all that is great, but what is your purpose? Okay. And this is the fourth quarter to figure it out, because then time's up. There is no overtime. There is no, I got another game to play. This is the fourth quarter. Time runs out, whatever it is, it's over. Again, we're talking about the fourth quarter of your life. He talks about nurturing relationships. It's important, guys, at this point in your life. And not just, I have 800 friends on Facebook or Instagram, face-to-face things. Who do you call? Who do you meet for lunch, for dinner, for games, for pickleball, whatever it may be? Again, he talks about some of the strategies. I'm just going to bouncing around here. He does offer advice on strengthening family bonds. And I will say this is kind of a spirit. He does put some spiritual. It's not really secular. He does throw a little spiritual stuff in there, and that might turn off some people. But he talks about strengthening family bonds, cultivating friendships, again, intergenerational relationships. Well, I'm telling you what, playing pickleball, I played a kid from 8th grade to 76. So if that's not intergenerational, just by playing pickleball as an example, I don't know what is. He talks about, again, health and wellness in the fourth quarter. If you're lucky enough to have your health, guard it, work on it, because both your mental and physical health at this age is important. Again, we're talking about the book, The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. This is Ted Schneider on Improv Leadership, coming to you live from our studios at 98.3 FM The Life. And just, because I always like to do it, we'll give you a quick station ID every 15 minutes. And here's one of them.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Exactly. Round Lake Beach, Illinois, 98.3 FM The Life. Improv Leadership. We're talking about the fourth quarter of your life. So if you're 60, if you made it to 60, well, this is the fourth quarter. As I mentioned, one thing he does talk about in the book is that a lot of people deny, that I'm you're the age you are, and I've got plenty of time. So it is a wake-up call to say, look, it is the fourth quarter of your life if you're 60 plus. He does offer advice on budgeting because, of course, again, it is important to balance your financial as well as your, what your purpose and your meaning is. He talks about making wise investment choices as well, balancing financial security and with generosity and legacy building. So he talks about, if you're able to, be generous with your money. Don't give it all away and be poor, but legacy building is important in this part of your life, because if you really, to me, I look at it this way. Years ago, if you remember, when the movies came out like in December, those are the ones that always seemed like they were up for Oscars. And maybe not the same cycle anymore, because of course there's streaming and there's movies that are released throughout the year, and they were always released throughout the year. But the point was, the same analogy in my mind holds true, that in this fourth quarter of your life is your opportunity to make the biggest impact, if you haven't already. Okay. And I'm not saying change your lifestyle dramatically. The book's not suggesting do 360 and now you're going to be, very nice if you were evil all your life, whatever. But this is your last chance to leave some type of legacy. Okay. So keep that in mind. He talks about the importance of reflection and introspection. Yeah. It's time to do some reflection. Why am I here? What am I doing? What can I do better? Forgiveness. Again, cultivating gratitude and contentment. I think a lot of times by this age, I'm hoping you're content with what you have. If you're still chasing something, go ahead and chase. If you're still in a situation where, you're trying to keep up with somebody, or you're trying to do better than somebody, there's some kind of competition. All right, if you got the time and the money and the resources, go for it. But be grateful for what you have, and not what you don't have. Okay, so celebrate what you have, not what you don't have. And that goes for anything. That goes for your physical health, that goes for your mental health, that goes for your resources financially. Again, he offers advice on volunteering and community involvement. Yeah, at this stage of your life, why not give back? Why not get involved and volunteer? I did that a couple of years ago, many years ago, actually, when I was I lived in Grays Lake with the church on the first Saturday of every month, partnering with the Illinois Food Bank, Northern Illinois Food Bank, and it was great to just pass out food and toiletries or whatever else it was. So give back, volunteer, and at this stage of your life, you should have the opportunity, right? You should have the time, hopefully, and the opportunity, and know what you interest you. Like I saw a YouTube the other day, yesterday, about how they take two different companies, one in France, one in the United States, takes old soap bars from hotels, as an example, and cleans them, melts them and shreds them and stuff, and makes new bars. And they sell them and also give them away, like to underdeveloping countries, because the amount of people that die every year from not washing their hands. Okay, so to me, I was like, wow, that's a cool cause. Using soap that would have been thrown away, creating a technology to create new soap from discards, and saving people's lives basically in underdeveloped countries because they don't wash their hands and they pass out soap. I mean, what a cool project to be involved in as an example on your second career, or your second stage of your life in the fourth quarter, of course. Again, he gives advice on a couple things about, again, contributing to society, sharing your wisdom and experience. A couple of years ago, I was introduced to a program at the high school I went to where you can speak to kids about your experience. And, like not a vocational thing necessarily, but it could be considered like a vocational thing. At this stage of your life, all the experience you have, all the life knowledge, why not give back? Why not, do something like that? And you think about how old people or older people are revered in some countries, like Japan as an example. They're not discarded. They live with the family. They're considered wise. They're considered a very important part of the family. We need to do that more here, where the older folks in life can contribute, can still use that fourth quarter of their life in a very positive and contributing way. Again, we're talking about the fourth quarter of your life by Matthew Kelly. Let's see here. He does talk about having a meaningful conversation about death and dying. I'm not ready for that one yet. But I have seen, obviously, death. Several uncles and an aunt died. My sister several years ago. My dad many, many years ago. So I'm not oblivious to the concept. Again, talks about advanced directives, estate planning. I just did all that. Power of attorney for finance and for health. I'd have the will, the last will and testament, the trust. It was a lot of work. But being honest, that the one theme of the book is being honest with, this is the fourth quarter of your life. You have to be prepared. Okay. I even did a thing with my phone where my younger son can have access to it when I pass. So the point is, you have to be realistic that there will be, an end at some point, but be prepared for it. Let's see here. Some of the key takeaways, the fourth quarter of your life can be impactful and fulfilling if approached with the right mindset. It's true. It's your attitude. I'm going to address this and I'm going to focus on this as the best time of my life. Why? Because it's the end. It's the fourth quarter. And I look at it like a football game, as I mentioned earlier. If you're up or you're down, this is the time to make the difference, to continue to strive for maintaining the win, or to come back from a deficit and win the game. And the game, of course, being life, if there is such a thing. And you don't really win or lose, but the point is, make it yours. Okay. The point is to really look at your fourth quarter of your life is, what am I going to do with the remaining part of my life? If you wasted your youth, if you had issues, or you're focused on your family, or whatever it was that distracted you, let's say work in particular. A lot of people, work is a big part of their lives. It's still a big part of my life. The point is, you have the fourth quarter to make a difference, okay, to have an impact. Some of the other key takeaways from the book, again, it's called The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. Let's see here. My notes from the book. I like taking notes when I read a book. That way I can always kind of look back and go, oh, I remember that. Again, changing your perspective on aging is crucial because, yeah, if you think about aging or I'm old versus just, okay, yeah, I'm aging. Sure, my parts are wearing out versus, this is it. Again, finding and pursuing one's purpose is key to living a meaningful life at any age. And again, I hope by the time you're, say, 60 or 65, you know why you're here. Okay. You know what your purpose is. You have some meaning to your life. You know what turns you on, what, motivates you, what doesn't motivate you, what gets you excited, what doesn't get you excited in terms of hobbies, in terms of whatever it may be. Okay. Again, maintaining physical and mental health is crucial for enjoying and maximizing this fourth quarter. Can't go out and play football or any sport in the fourth quarter if you're not mentally and physically prepared. Financial planning should focus on both security and creating a lasting positive impact. Kind of funny, too, because you're speaking of financial. A couple of years ago, and I start talking to a guy at Ameriprise. He's like, well, what do you want to leave your kids? I'm like $20. I'll give it to him right now. So I almost wrote down love dad on a 20 and gave it each to my kids, but I held off on that. But the point is, the financial aspect of it is important, but that's to make sure you can live and meet your expenses. But a lot of people focus so much, the book talks about, on the financial, and they get this number and they have so much in the bank or assets and stuff. And then they go, what am I going to do? The example he gave is, one of his clients, several clients, oh, I want to play golf more. I want to play a lot of golf. It's okay. So break your day up into the morning, afternoon, and evening. You're going to play golf in the morning, golf in the afternoon, and golf in the evening? Probably not. So it's great to say I want to play more of a sport. I, of course, would pick pickleball, assuming my back and my knees can hold out. But you're not going to do it 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Okay. So again, finding and pursuing one's purpose is key to living a meaningful life. Again, fourth quarter individuals have unique and valuable contributions to make to society. Yes, you're not just going to say, I'm 65, put me on a shelf and let me get dusty. No, you can still contribute. Okay. You have a lot of things, your wisdom, your knowledge, your education, work experience, whatever it is. Maybe you have a hobby. I saw something the other day. Was it Britain Has Talent? And the kid's grandfather, I think he was like 11. The kid's grandfather taught him how to play guitar. And this kid played the guitar pretty well. I think he was like 11 years old. Maybe he was younger. I can't remember the age. The point is, his grandfather, and he looked older than me, still was giving back to society in the form of, tutoring his grandson. So I look at the book overall. Again, we're talking about the fourth quarter of your life by Matthew Kelly. Some of the strengths of the book. One, a very positive perspective. One of the biggest strengths of this book, I think, is the overwhelmingly positive and empowering view of aging. So it's really kind of like encouraging. All right. It's like, yeah, I got this. I have another quarter to go. The game's not over. Game of life. He challenges, again, the negative stereotypes about growing older and offers a refreshing and inspiring alternative. True. I was just like, okay, I got this. But you have to wake up every day and go, you know what? This is the fourth quarter. I can't waste time. And I don't usually waste time. But you have to have a purpose and focus to get up out of bed every day. Practical advice. Again, the book balances some philosophical insights with practical, actionable advice. Not just inspire, but it gives you some tools and strategies to implement changes in your life. Again, it's kind of a holistic approach. Physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, and social. And as I saw something the other day, and I still love it, I talk about there's three healths that we deal with, not hell, but healths. You have your physical health, you have your mental health, and you have your social health. And if you don't think that the social health is important, well, then you're lying to yourself. The social aspect is just as important as your emotional or mental state, as well as your physical. And if any one of those is lacking, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be I think a complete human being, but that's my opinion. Again, kind of a cool writing style. Again, I think engaging, inspiring. To me, I read the book. It was a quick read, like 220 pages. I read it. I literally read it on the plane going down to Florida. I finished it before I got to Florida a couple weeks ago. And I think to me, it was more of a universal appeal. Okay. You didn't have to be any segment of society. It could be any country of the world. And the focus is, look, this is the fourth quarter of your life. The clock is running. There is no overtime. And now is the time to take action to really build a legacy, do what you want, contribute at the level that you think you can contribute, and enjoy the last quarter of your life. Because like I said, and I've talked to several people about that, including my girlfriend, Denise, we got about 20 good years left, let's say. And not that 85 is some magic boom, or 84 or whatever how old you are, and add 20 is some magic cutoff like a cliff. But I've seen my own relatives and friends that, by mid 80s, things are slowing down a little bit. Maybe you're not driving as well. People are still playing pickleball though. So I won't discount that. Some of the weaknesses of the book, if I had to point out any of the weaknesses, again, this is The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. And this is Improv Leadership, by the way, 98.3 FM The Life, coming to you live from our studio in Hawthorne. And we're on our 20th year on the radio, folks. We're going to be celebrating that later this year. So stay tuned for some details if you want to show up and celebrate with us. But anyway, 98.3 FM The Life. We're going to take a break here. Usually about the halfway part, we talk about, some public service announcements. And we do just some promos in general. So take a listen and we'll be right back.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You should not send that text.
Uh-oh. Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Flooded vehicles from recent hurricanes will be flooding the used car market, so buyer beware. If you're in the market for a used vehicle, be on the lookout for flood damage and make sure you have a qualified mechanic inspect it before you buy. The free VIN check service from the National Insurance Crime Bureau is a good place to start. Head over to nicb.org to check it out.
To report fraud, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB. This is a public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Hey, cats and kittens. Join me, Gray Dolan, Sunday mornings at 11 for Mood Swings with Gray Dolan. Each week we'll visit a different genre, style, and mood of music here on The Life 98.3.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Exactly. 98.3 FM The Life. Improv Leadership with your host, Ted Schneider, every Tuesday, unless, of course, work interferes, on 98.3 FM from 6 to 7. Again, the most incredible FM station on, I'd go even the universe. So if there's an FM station someplace off the earth, well, we've got them beat. Anyway, Improv Leadership, 98.3 FM Life. I'm Ted Schneider. We're talking about the book, The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. The fourth quarter. In other words, look, you're, let's say, 60 plus. You're in the fourth quarter. Okay. And there's no overtime. There is no sudden death. Well, there's sudden death, I guess. That happens before the quarter's over sometimes. Anyway, we're talking about the book, and some of the weaknesses. Again, I think he was a little overly optimistic, but I like that. Why not be optimistic? Why be the opposite way, right? Overly pessimistic. You're talking about the fourth quarter of your life. You're hoping it turns out to be, good. Anyway. Also, there was some repetition. He continued to, there was, obviously he was trying to make the point, and there was a little bit of repetition. There isn't a lot of scientific depth. He does talk about life expectancy, and there's some information in there about average this and average that. But I think a lot of it is, if I recall now, a lot of it is focused on the Western view, and like, America, let's say, and other countries in this part of the world. But really, it's again, I think he tries to give spiritual guidance and he talks about some practical advice and really inspirational wisdom. To me, I was energized after I read the book. I'm like, okay, look, it's the fourth quarter. I got a chance. I got time still. Game's not over. The game of life. I got time. And I think the thing I took away was a lot of people, and myself included, are always looking like, well, how much money do I have? How much do I need? What will be my expenses when I'm retired? I won't have an income. So I got it. So myself, as well as a lot of people have been focused, not everybody, but a lot of people are focused on the financial aspect. Look at your purpose. Look at your meaning. If you don't have some purpose and meaning in life, doesn't matter how much money you have. So you're going to sit home on a pile of money and do nothing. There was a little bit of controversy again, like I said, that in my mind, the role of spirituality. A lot of people probably don't want to, read religious books. And again, it wasn't religious of sorts, but there were some spiritual themes. Some of the, I think, socioeconomic considerations, it did, I think, apply more to people that did have, financial stability. If you don't have financial stability and you're still trying to meet, your expenses, and then retirement's not really an option. In other words, can I retire? Do I want to retire? Do I have to retire? Or can't I retire? And I've talked to some people in the last 10 years of my life, dating people. And there's people I know in their 70s. And I remember one lady in particular said, quote, retirement isn't even on my radar. So she was like 72, and retirement wasn't on her radar just based on whatever happened financially. So the book does assume a certain level of, well, I've got some wealth that I can rely on, and I can live comfortably, which means I can switch then to the purpose and my meaning in life. So that is a little bit of a bias. But he also, I think, talks about continued purpose and contribution later in life, because the traditional concept of retirement, he really thinks it should be redefined. Again, when that whole 65 magic age showed up, I don't think people's life expectancy was 65. So if you were waiting to 65 to retire, you weren't even going to get your Social Security because you were dead before that when it first started. And I can't think how many years ago, but it had to be like in the late 30s or 40s when they started this. So with life expectancy changes in the United States in particular, and you think about 65 as a magical number, well, it's not a magical number for a lot of people. I turned 65 and I was like, okay, big deal. I'm still working. I'm still doing this. I'm still doing that. And actually, in some instances, or some aspects, I guess, I'm in better shape than I was, 20 years ago. And most people I talk to, especially that play pickleball, are in better shape today than they were, let's say, 20 years ago. Why? Because you know how much more important it is at this stage of your life. Anyway, we're talking about the fourth quarter of your life. Just to conclude here, the book is by Matthew Kelly. Again, I think powerful, thought-provoking book. Challenges people to reimagine their later years as a time of opportunity, growth, and impact. Not, I'm getting old, blah, 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 blah. Also, he talks about, gives you a guide to have purposeful living and really fulfill your life at this age. Again, it's a positive reframing of aging. To me, it was very, very motivational, and it's a holistic approach to well-being. Again, inspiring people, I think, just to live their lives through a lens of possibility rather than limitation. That's important. The lens of possibility versus limitation. I mean, it's true. Why limit yourself at this age, right? Pull up all the stops. Again, put it to a football analogy, maybe a trick play here or there. You're going to, try to do whatever you can to your advantage. And I don't mean that a zero-sum game, you're going to do something where you win and somebody else loses. No. But the point is really possibility versus I'm limited. I'm getting old. I can only do this. I can only do that. You know how many people started their careers in the fourth quarter of their lives? Yeah, a lot of people. Again, regardless, I think it's some good insights and strategies for making the most of your later life. And again, a practical handbook. And again, I think to me, it was inspiring. And really, as I mentioned before, embrace aging as an opportunity for continued growth, deeper relationships, and meaningful contribution to the world. That sums it up. Again, The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. Think about it. A practical handbook and a source of inspiration, which should encourage you to embrace aging as an opportunity for continued growth, deeper relationships, and meaningful contribution to the world. Again, Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. Very good read. in paperback. And I think I got it on Amazon, actually. But either way, Improv Leadership. I'm Ted Schneider. This is 98.3 FM The Life, coming to you live from our studio on Hawthorne. And we are talking about 20 years you've been on the radio. If you're not familiar with WRLR 98.3 FM The Life, check out our website. Look at our programming grid. Amazing. Okay, just simply amazing to say the least. And we're talking about retirement tonight, which I've had a couple little shows on, only because I'm to that age where, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to retire one of these days. It is a weird concept, and I wrestle with it. And like I told you, boss is boss. Several times in the last almost year now has mentioned, well, if you can last 5 more years, I want you to stay until I go, because he's talking about retiring in 5 years. So we'll see. Seems like a long time to continue working, but I enjoy it. I like making money. Good company, good people. And as I mentioned, I get to work from home. But the other book we're going to talk about in the remaining time is The New Retire Mentality, Age, Balance, and Retirement, and Living a Rich Retirement by Mitch Anthony. Now, this was good too. A little longer book, a little more in depth, but it really starts off, again, the book. Let's see here, talking about how people that they've surveyed, in your later life, you don't think you're as old as you are. And I don't know anybody I've talked to recently, especially pickleball folks, where they go, yeah, I feel like I'm 70, but I'm only 60. Most people say they are 10 to 20 years younger because they're in good shape, knock on wood, or their abilities or just the mental attitude. And to me, it's the mental attitude, like I told you before. Aging versus getting old. Aging means, yes, my body's going to physically change, okay? Hormones and whatever, weight redistribution, gray hair, wrinkles, whatever it may be. The cells aren't dividing like they used to. Maybe when I get a cut, doesn't heal as quickly. That's aging. Can't do anything about that. I mean, eat a good diet, exercise, get some sleep, yes. But getting old, to me, is in the mind. Period, the end. So anyway, we're talking about the new retire mentality. Your attitude toward age, according to the author, is the most important factor influencing your longevity. Boom. It was also a study done in Yale. Let's see here. Yale School of Public Health, led by Dr. Becca Levy. And those that acquired positive beliefs about old age from their surrounding culture are less likely to develop dementia, even if they carried a gene that put them at risk. Interesting. Acquiring positive beliefs about old age from the surrounding culture are less likely to develop dementia. And again, dementia is the umbrella. There's a lot of things under the umbrella of dementia. Let's see here. It was the first study to examine the idea of how culture-based views and beliefs on aging influence the risk of developing dementia. Now, they only looked at 4,765 people. Average age was 72. But, quote, they found that those who express more positive age beliefs at baseline were less likely to develop dementia than those who express more negative age beliefs, which is a case for implementing a public health campaign against ageism, which is a source of really negative age beliefs and a lot of things in our society. If you think about it, right, marketers aren't looking for many people in the 60 to 80 range, right? It's all whatever it is, 17 to 32, whatever the number is. And there's age discrimination. I know a lady who lost her job. I talked to her a couple of weeks ago, making a nice 6-figure salary. She's in her mid-50s. She can't prove it, of course, but age discrimination based on that salary, based on who she is and her age. Point is, it's up to the individual, of course, but our society also doesn't help at some level where, the youth culture, in terms of what you see on YouTube, what advertisers are pushing, that type of thing, it's a big deal. So really, again, a case of the mind being able to impact your physical well-being. I'm a firm believer. I've believed this for the last 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it is, I lose track of time. The mind is capable of having the body do anything. You lay in bed in the morning and you're like, oh, I can't get out of bed. I'm tired. Oh, I can't believe it. Your body's going to go, okay, sure. The mind controls the body. And to me, if the mind, says it's going to do X, then the body follows along. That's in my opinion. Anyway, we're talking about The New Retire Mentality by Mitch Anthony. Again, a book on retirement, on aging. Let's see here. He talks about life as a delicate balancing act. Okay. Vacation, vocation, connecting with others, and doing something for yourself. Kind of the same theme of the other book called The Fourth Quarter of Your Life, right? What are you going to do? And when it comes to balancing out that retirement proposition, a life of total ease won't satisfy you. People go, well, I'm going to sit down in Florida and relax. Okay. Well, I'd be bored to death. And I think most people would be. So, you don't want a life of, I'm going to just work. But at the same point, it has to be a balance. Okay. And as couples retire, couples in particular, what works for both of you? You like to travel, you have certain hobbies, you play pickleball, whatever it may be. But especially when there's a significant other, you have to balance that out as well. And again, what constitutes balance to one person may be perceived as doing too much, where the other person is going, well, maybe it's not enough. So how we define retirement is as unique as our fingerprints. And he tries to say it's not one size fits all. Okay, again, this is a new retirement mentality by, was it Mitch? Got his last name right. One second. Mitch Anthony. The new retirement mentality. So some of the 5 categories he says you need to address to have a great retirement life. 1, health and fitness. Getting and keeping your body in good and healthy shape. Yeah, and listen to your body. I never listened to my body. I was on the treadmill, my knee would hurt, put a brace on it. Go a little slower, but get back on. Now, if my body starts to hurt a little bit, maybe I should take the day, or take whatever. So 5 categories people need to address to have a great retirement life. Number 1, health and fitness. You don't have your health and you're not staying active. There's not much left from that point. Fun, entertainment, enjoyment, relaxing. You got to have a balance. Okay. And again, you do what you think is fun. Work and work-like activities. Work itself or activities that resemble work in some form or function. A lot of people give back to the community. They volunteer at the library. They substitute teach, whatever it is. Okay. But a lot of people go back and do something part-time, just 1, to contribute, 2, to stay active and busy. And to me, it's a good way of staying not only active physically, engaging with people that are younger than you. Someone the other day told me that one way to stay young is to hang out with people that are younger. Well, same thing with pickleball. Yesterday I played, besides my friend, I don't think anybody was over the age of 30. They were at least half my age. So it's kind of cool to play with younger people. Now, a couple of them were really good, and it was challenging to say the least, because again, I'm not 30 anymore. The point is, it is kind of beneficial to hang out with people a little younger. Well, folks, Improv Leadership, I'm Ted Schneider. This is 98.3 FM The Life. We always do a station ID at 15, so take a listen.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Exactly. Round Lake Beach, Illinois, 98.3 FM The Life. We're talking about the new retirement mentality, Mitch Anthony. Great book. And we got about 10 minutes left before Bob Slippy comes on with the Info Explorers. And by the way, if you liked last week, where Bob and I came on each other's shows, we're going to do that about once a month. He's going to come on my show and I'll come on his show, do a 2-hour mega show. Anyway, either way, we're talking about the new retirement mentality, Mitch Anthony. 5 categories people need to address to have a great retirement life. Number 4, social interaction, regular connection with others. You got to get involved with people. COVID's over, get out there. And as I told you before, you have your physical health, your mental health, and then you have your social health. So social interaction, there was a study done of some island in Italy, I think it was, or island off of Italy, and the people lived to be 108 or something. It's because of the social connection they have in that small community. And then mental stimulation, keeping our minds engaged and sharp. I don't care what you do. You do connections, you do Wordle, you do crossword puzzles with the New York Times. In my case, I like to write. To me, being creative is a way of using the brain. Now, maybe that doesn't work for other people. I think it works for me. We'll find out in 20 years if I get dementia or not, or I lose my mind. I think it's going to happen before that, though, and it won't be anything to do with my writing or my doing Wordle or doing connections. But anyway, we're talking about the new retirement mentality. Living a rich retirement. Okay, we live in a world that's obsessed with increasing our return on investment. And this is a good part. We live in a world obsessed with increasing our ROI, return on investment, when we should be more concerned with achieving ROL, return on life. Now think about that. Return on life. It's a phrase the author developed to define the ultimate purpose of gathering and investing materially. No one gathers only for the sake of gathering. Even the greedy have an extra material purpose for gathering, whether it's conceit, power, or just extreme insecurity. So think about that. Not a return on your investment, but a return on life. What is this going to give me? If I have $2 million, what is that going to afford me? Whatever the number is, you pick a number of 500,000, 750K. It's a return on life. Okay. So you have to think, okay, we don't save up our money to sit back and just marvel at the size of our bank accounts, right? Again, both authors talk about having some financial stability. If you don't have it, it's a different situation. You have to have it at some point, because, or you're going to have to, share your resources with somebody else. But we plan financially for retirement to have the life we've always wanted, or an extension of the great life we're already living. But there's a cost, okay? The more you work, the more you make, the more you sacrifice someplace else. It's kind of hard to have that balance, is what the author argues, in terms of, well, I work 80 hours a week. I talked to a guy the other day. He's been working 80-hour weeks. And I'm thinking, I do about 50 a week, easy. And I'm thinking 80 hours. It's like working two 8-hour shifts or part of the weekend. If you're doing it to get some financial stability and you're already there, well, then you're going to sacrifice something else. So again, like everything else, they talk about balance. What else? They talk about 60% of the people that they surveyed agreed that demands of their time have increased as their wealth has increased, and 51% agreed they're also dealing with more complicated issues and decisions. If you own a business, they're even more likely to feel being under pressure. And clearly, you need to count a cost of chasing bigger numbers, which means the bottom line, the wealth you seek comes with some risk, okay? The wealth you seek and try to maintain comes with some headaches. And not that, money is a bad thing, but you have to realize, again, there's a trade-off. You want to spend time with your family. You want to nurture a relationship. You want to be there for your aging parents, whatever it may be. You've got to have some kind of balance if you're just looking at a number. Another thing the book talks about, again, The New Retirement Mentality by Mitch Anthony. We hear too little about the focus on building wealth without consequence. A study by the U.S. Trust on Wealth and Worth asked the following question, quote, what would make life better? Almost half responded with more time, and more than half responded with more connections with family and friends. Interestingly, less than 20% cited more money. When it comes down to it, according to the survey at least, people wanted more time with friends and family. Not, I want to chase more money. I want to make more money. There's, again, 19% they said, it was under 20%. But the point is, demands on your time increased as their wealth increased. Sure, there's more responsibility. You're running a company. You've got a corporation you're in charge of, whatever it may be. So it's up to you. You live your life. You do you, as Sarah Knight always talks about in her book. But you have to decide, what's more important. Again, the conversation around money should not exclude meaning, but rather meaning should be placed at the very center of the conversation. How can I get the most meaning from my means? So if I have this wealth, how can I get the most meaning from that? Okay. And people, I don't think about that. But there's many aspects of our lives that gives us a sense of fulfillment, family, achievement, exploration, freedom, etc. But for the sake of clarity, the author talks about defining these as 7 meaningful intangibles. And many times people can have an epiphany when they understand these goals for what they are, and they stop looking for them in the wrong places. So again, we're talking about The New Retirement Mentality by Mitch Anthony. It says here, ultimately being rich is about aligning your life and money by placing meaning at the center of each financial decision. So really investing on purpose. So in other words, it's not just to build this mountain. What am I going to do with this? And what's the meaning behind this? Well, I want to pay my bills. I want to give back to the community. I want to leave something for my children. I want to travel when I'm, whatever it may be, it has to have some meaning and purpose, just like your life. The money you accumulate has to have some meaning and purpose, as well as what you do with the remaining fourth quarter of your life. And again, what might be a perfect lifestyle for somebody else isn't you. We're all individuals, all right? And they stress that in the book. You have to decide what's important. What do I want to spend, as the other book talks about, the fourth quarter of my life with? How do I want to spend my money? How do I want to spend my remaining years? Again, he talks about here, people wanting a real purpose in retirement, being free to spend what they work so hard to gain. Yeah, right? It's ironic. We're creatures of habit. The chains of habits are light to be felt. It says here, it's been said, the change of habits are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to remove. That's a great quote. The chains of habits are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to remove. We are our habits. We are our habits. And you think about it, right? The fourth quarter of your life, things are coming to the end. You have to be excited about something in any time of your life, right? Throughout your life. But even now, the end's coming, right? Or not, and I mean doom and gloom, but the point is, it's not like you have a lot of time. This is the fourth quarter. So find meaning in your lives and get excited about something and do something that will fulfill you. It can be, again, volunteering, golf, whatever. Maybe it's a combination of things, but those 5 categories we talked about before was very important. The 5 categories we talked about: health and fitness, fun, work and work-like activities, social interaction, and mental stimulation. Those are 5 things to consider when you're getting older and you're nearing retirement or you're in retirement. What else? Again, a good book, The New Retirement Mentality. A lot of it starts off with challenging, again, as I mentioned before, 65 is like some magic number. For a lot of people, it isn't. My mom retired when she was 55. My dad died when he was 52. So 65 meant nothing to either one of them because of physical health or a decision to retire early by some standards. So don't let 65, what the book argues, don't let 65 be a defining, okay, 65, bing. Yeah, it's time you can take your Social Security, or it's time you can, sign up for Medicare. Yes, there are some things that click at 65. But in general, again, we're wrapping up here. The New Retirement Mentality, as well as the fourth quarter of your life, talks about, look, yes, you have to have some money. You've got to put resources aside to, have a comfortable retirement or pay your bills at least. But take into account what you're going to do. Take into account the meaning and the purpose. Don't just go into retirement as, I made some money, now I'm going to stop work, and have no plan. Have a plan. Have some idea of what you want to do. And if you're with somebody else and you're married, a partner, whatever, obviously, get together and discuss that as a couple. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for that. We talked about The New Retirement Mentality by Mitch Anthony, a book, and also The Fourth Quarter of Your Life by Matthew Kelly. This is Improv Leadership. I'm Ted Schneider. Every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 98.3 FM The Life. Bob Slipke's up next on Info Explorers. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, well, you know what? I'm going to try it again next week. So there's always a chance for doing more. Anyway, enjoy the week. It's only Tuesday. Pace yourself. Spring is here. Take care.